Hello friends, how are you all? I hope you all are doing well and I found you all in the good health. My today's topic is nanotechnology in environment. In my previous slide or earlier slides, we have seen how the nanotechnology is becoming the emerging field. Now we'll see its application in the environment, that is in cleaning up the environment, reducing the pollution. Let's move forward for this interesting topic. First of all, we will discuss what is the air pollution. We all are familiar what is the air pollution. First of all, we will discuss a little bit about it. That air pollution may be defined as the contamination of atmosphere with poisonous gases such as CO, CO2, SO2, NOx, also the particulate matter as well, like volatile organic compound, ozone, lead, toxic pollutants, etc. So there are so many toxic pollutants, and these toxic pollutants are highly toxic. They can cause cancer, and in humans or also in animals, and they affect almost all organisms in this planet. So, reducing the air pollution is utmost important in this developing world. So, for this, the nanoparticle can be the one solution. Use of nanoparticle for the removal of air pollutant has been increasing nowadays. Air pollution can be controlled by by using various nanoparticle in several ways. Among these, the two major ways in nanotechnology to reduce the air pollution are use of the catalyst and use of the nanostructured membrane. The nanocatalyst with their higher surface area, as I have discussed, that the nanoparticles have the high surface area because of the low volumes. This high surface area of the nanoparticles provide its high surface area for the gases reaction. These gases reaction can be used to change one type of molecule to the another, and these changes of toxic compound from one type into another, that is a less harmless compound, can be of use. So it can make the reaction more effective, and then it is act as a catalyst. As we know, catalysts make the reaction more effective, so it is acting as a nano catalyst here, as it is used for the conversion of the one particle into the other, that is the more toxic compound, into the less toxic compound. So we can say it is a catalyst. It is as it is used for the carrying out the reaction is moving forward for this, because of using this in effective manner. Therefore, nowadays nanocatalysts are used to convert vapors escaping from the vehicle motors or industries into the harmless gases. Example of nanoparticles that are used as nanocatalysts to remove air pollutants gases are metal-based nanoparticle. The metal oxide nanoparticle and TiO2 are most widely used nowadays. Now, metal-based nanoparticle used as nanocatalyst include platinum, silver, aluminium, copper, etc. All these metals can be used as nanocatalyst, and these metals are used in nanoparticle form. Here you can see in the image, they are used in the nanoparticle form, and they are generally deposited on the activated carbon, or the related surface for the removal of air pollutants. We can say the activated carbon, as we know that the activated carbon is widely used for the trapping the air pollution, decreasing the pollution, trapping the gases. Also, it is used for the trapping many pollutants in water clearing purposes also. So these carbon activated carbon, uh, when they are mixed with this when they are their surface is embedded with these nanoparticle, it can be more effectively do its job. Means it can more effectively reduce the pollutants in the water as well as in the air. So it is deposited carbon, activated carbon is there, so it metals nanoparticle is deposit on it, and then it is act as a catalyst, and it converts the harmful substances into the less harmful substances, thus it can help in the reducing of the air pollution. Now, second is the nanostructured membrane. The nanostructured membrane, in contrast to the nanocatalyst, are being used for the removal of the carbon dioxide and the methane from the industrial smokestacks. So, the nanostructured membrane are designed in such a way that they have the small pores enough to separate the greenhouse gases. So, here you can see that it is containing the small pores, so these can trap the uh, greenhouse gases in it and thus reducing the pollution. So these are the most widely used structures in the nanoparticle for the clearing of the air. Now we will discuss the carbon nanotubes for the air pollution that are widely used nowadays. So use of carbon nanotubes for the emission is for air emission is a recent technique, because carbon nanotubes can trap the gases up to the 100 times more rapidly than other conventional methods that are available in the past. Now it can be carbon nanotube is one solution to it, so it can trap more 100 tons of gases as compared to that conventional method. Why this so? This is because the CNTs are designed to absorb gases on their surface. They have characteristic electronic property, and its semiconductivity is very much influenced by one-dimensional cylindrical structure. As you can see in the picture, it has one-dimensional cylindrical structure, and also they are because of this size and the chirality. They have the carbon with the chirality. It also provides us it's a major advantage. So this unique structure of the carbon nanotube and the electronic environment it has, and also the surface functional group because of the chiral carbon, they are most widely used in the car to control the carbon emission. They can trap various gases in it because of the functional group, the unique structure of it. And then the use of carbon nanotube for removal of gases can be a solution for the air pollution. So adsorption of gases onto the carbon nanotube is carried out in this way. So this is the unique structure you can see here. So it also have the high surface area for trapping the air as for trapping the pollutants as well. Also it's have the functional groups to trap them. Also the electronic environment also allow it to trap the charged pollutants in it. Now, the use of carbon nanotube for the removal of CO2 and the carbon monoxide is can be enhanced by chemical modification. And these modification, the most commonly used chemical for modification are polyethylenamine, ethylene diamine, and the aminopropyl dioxysilane. So these are the mainly used chemicals. So here you can in the image you can see that these chemicals have the amine group to react with CO2. After reacting with the CO2, they form the carbamate in the absence of water, thus increasing the adsorption capacity on the carbon nanotube. Hence, the CO2 is most if, trapped in this carbon nanotube in the most effective way. So, adsorption of the CO2 in the chemical modified carbon nanotube is generally is used, and thus the modified carbon nanotubes is more efficiently reduce the carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide in the atmosphere. Now the use of carbon nanotube for NOx and SO2. So the carbon nanotubes can also be used for trapping the NOx and the SO2 from the air. As we know, these are the harmful gases which are present in the air. They are also involved in the acidic rain as well, so they are polluting the water as well. So the water pollution and the air pollution both can be reduced by the help of the carbon nanotubes. How this so? This is done by because of the structure of the carbon nanotubes, and uh, they are able to detect these gases also. So in this way, the carbon nanotube based gas sensors are used for the detection of the NOx and SO2. So, while clearing them off, they are also behaving as a sensor for detecting the gases as well. So the both work can be done by them simultaneously. So uh, for these, the carbon nanotube gas sensor act as a anode. Here you can see in the image, and an aluminium sheet can act as an cathode. Then they both are separated by the 180 micrometer thick glass insulator. So the carbon nanotube generate a high electric field. As we know, we have seen it's in its structure that it generate a high electric field here. We have discussed this. So it generate a high electric field which accelerate the gas ionization process. The gas on the when the gas react with this electronic field, it causes the gas ionization process. It accelerates the gas ionization process, and this result in the change of the resistant or conductance in the carbon nanotube with direct contact with gas. And these form the basis for the detection of the gases by the sensor as the difference between the conductance and reductance. This Li sheet is used as a uh, reference uh, cathode, and then the difference between the electrical difference, that is conductance, difference of conductance between the anode and the cathode, can be detected by the detector. Thus they can behave as sensor as well. So what we can conclude from this slide, we can conclude that the result in the change of the resistance or conductance in the carbon nanotube with the direct contact with gas form the basis for detection. And in general, the resistance of the carbon nanotube based gas sensor decreases with increase of gases concentration. So for these, the polymer functionalization is used by researcher to enhance the sensitivity of the carbon nanotubes based gas sensor. So also the modification is required in the carbon nanotube for to behave efficiently as gas biosensor in this condition. So this is all about while trapping them, it can also detect these gases as well. So it is an important innovative technology, we can say. Now the nanobioremediation. So the physical, and first of all we will discuss the bioremediation. What we mean by bioremediation. So the bioremediation is a widely used term in contrast of saving in the context of saving the environment. Why this so? This is because as we know, the physical and the chemical properties of the pollutants affect the biological activity of the organism found in an ecosystem. So, the chemical properties and the concentration of the pollutant determine their toxicity and persistence in the environment. So, the biodegradation is a natural process where the substances are degraded biologically. The microorganisms have the potential to degrade wide variety of pollutant because of the enzyme they form within them. So, the bioremediation is an engineered process of employing plant microorganisms to clean up the environment. So the biological removal of pollutants is considered to be cheap and eco-friendly process as compared to the today's conventional method like nanoparticle as we are using in the clearing processes are also very costly. And on the other hands, various metals are used for clearing up the gases. They can be also pollutants and gases, they can be also increase the budget. So using the bioremediation is one way of reducing the cost as well. It is eco-friendly, and because of these two advantages, it is widely preferred that uh, bioremediation is widely preferred over these commercial techniques. Now, so we were talking about the bioremediation. So it is clear that bioremediation is an engineered process for employing plant microorganism to clean up the environment. So the biological removal of the pollutant is considered cheap, as we have discussed, and eco-friendly. So for this reason, it is being preferred to use the bioremediation. So the nanoparticles synthesized from such living organism or living system like plant, bacteria, fungi, yeast can be effectively utilized for the removal of the pollutants. So the use of nanoparticle prepared from the biological system for removal of the pollutant is called the nanobioremediation. So the use of nanoparticle in bioremediation, because it have the high surface area, it's reactive. So this makes the reactivity more efficient, and a nanoparticle act as an excellent agent for degrading the pollutants in soil and water because of their effective reactivity. So this figure you can see that various applications are there of nanoparticle as bioremediation agent in removal of wide variety of the pollutants by using the plant, bacteria, yeast, fungi as nanoparticles. So the plant's material, here you can see the plant material are generally applied for the absorption of the heavy metal in the ecosystem as well as in other cases. So researcher applied the agriculture waste in the form of the column. These agriculture waste can be applied as in the form of the column, as you can say it can form the nanoparticle. As we have discussed that for the particle to be in a nanosystem, it should have the one dimension uh, in nanoscale. So they form the column so that they have the different available chemical groups that provide free sites for binding of heavy metals. So we can see the Mn and all these heavy metal molybdenum and uh, can be stored on it, can be bind to it, and the nanoparticle prepared from such plant material increases the surface area for adsorption of the heavy metals, and efficiency of adsorption also increases. So these are the widely used method for the nanobioremediation for cleaning up the environment as well. So why nanoparticles are used in bioremediation? So several studies and reports have been found in cited literature for to be so that use of nanotechnology for environmental cleanup. So nanomaterial, due to their unique property as we have discussed, they hold significant potential for remediation of the pollutants. So due to their nano size, they have the capacity to diffuse into the contamination zone. So they can diffuse into the contamination zone and thus degrade the pollutants or the contaminants. They can just move in the they can you can here you can see the image. It is the contamination, uh, it is the contamination zone. So nanoparticle can enter the contamination zone and thus they degrade the pollutant. It can also react and form the complex with the contaminants and degrade the contaminants. It can form complex also and then it can degrade it. So this is the most widely accepted application. Now the nanoscale zero valent iron. So the nanoscale zero valent iron has low standard reduction potential. So it is very important point to be noted here that it has low standard reduction potential and have properties of catalysis and chemical reduction to mitigate various pollutants like such as polychlorinated biphenyl, chlorinated compound, organochloride pesticides, inorganic anions and heavy metals. So all these are reduced by this non-zero valent iron. So the mechanism we will see in this slide. The mechanism of action of non-zero valent ion in contaminated sites is transformation of the FeO to the Fe plus 2. And then the Fe plus 2 is further with the help of the oxidative transformation is converted into the Fe plus 3. So here you can see the reaction in which the non-zero valent iron is undergoing the reaction in the groundwater which have the groundwater corrosion. So first of all, it is converted into the Fe plus 2. FeO is converted into the Fe plus 2, and then these Fe plus 2 is considered to be the most toxic state in of iron for microorganism and the invertebrate. So it is converted into the Fe plus 3, that is in the neutral or the alkaline condition, and then Fe plus 2 is further transformed to the Fe plus 3 ion by the following oxidative transformation. Here you can see the reaction of this. So because of this, because of its oxidation, we can see that the water is oxidized, it is reduced and the water is oxidized. So it just help in the preventing the it just mitigate the pollutant. So in deep water where oxygen is limited, FeO is converted to the magnetite or megamite, and that depend on the oxidative conditions. So in groundwater, these non-zero valent iron are added. So here you can see the we can assume that it is a contaminant source, and they are adding the non nanoscale zero valent iron in it. So these nanoscale zero valent iron, because of its low standard reduction potential, it just mitigate the chemical pollutants present in it. It just also used for dechlorination of the organic compound. It is used for the detoxification of the pesticides. It is used for the transformation of the fertilizer as well. It is used to these dispersed iron nanoparticle. They are the dispersed iron nanoparticle, and they are doing all these things like dechlorination, detoxification, and also the immobilization of the metals. By use Immobilization of the metals can also work for reducing the chemical pollutants as well. So this is the whole process how that work. Now the single enzyme nanoparticle in bioremediation. There are many factors such as the hydrophobic ionic interaction, hydrogen bonding, hydrophobic interaction, on which the stability of the enzyme depend. As we know, the enzyme are normally they are the protein. So protein are stable because of various interaction like hydrophobic, hydrogen interaction, hydrophobic interaction. So the stability of enzyme, uh, the working of the enzyme depend on the stability of the enzyme. Among these various factor, oxidation is also considered as factor, and enzyme lose their activity during the oxidation. So that leads to the decrease in stability and lifetime of enzyme. So for this reason, the nanoparticle are used to increase the stability of such enzyme, and most commonly used nanoparticle are magnetic iron nanoparticle. So here you can see these magnetic nanoparticle are added to the enzyme, and these form the cross-linking network, and then the single enzyme nanoparticle is there. Uh, these are magnetic particle are used here because they can be easily separated by applying the magnetic field as well. So it is used here, and this single enzyme nanoparticle is used for carrying out the various oxidative reaction to reduce the pollutants, to prevent the pollutants in the contaminated sites. Now the green or biogenic nanoparticle. So the green and the biogenic nanoparticle. Here is the we have discussed the plant extract microorganism are commonly used for the synthesis of the nanoparticle. Such nanoparticle are called the biogenic or the green nanoparticle. So, as we all know, the plant extract and the microorganism possesses good antioxidant or reducing properties. Therefore, these nanoparticles can be used to reduce the pollutants, and they can be synthesized from such material and can be used to reduce the pollutants like heavy metals, as we have discussed in earlier slide. The main advantage of using the plants and microorganism for synthesis of the biogenic nanoparticle is their easy availability. They are easily available, so they are used uh, widely for clearing the pollutants, and they have wide variety of metabolites, and they also have the wide variety of metabolites that can be used as carrying out the reaction. They are also safe to handle as well, and that might aid in the reduction of the pollutant more effectively. So, for the synthesis of the nanoparticle from the bacteria, fungi, and the plants, from bacteria and fungi and plant is carried out. But the more preferred are plant. Why this so? Because the for the synthesis of the nanoparticle from bacteria and fungi take the longer incubation period. So, for the reduction of the pollutants such as metal ions, so the plant extracts are most widely used for the synthesis of the nanoparticle. The plant culture technique and the downstream processing are employed for the synthesis of the nanoparticle, such as oxide nanoparticle on a large scale. So, this is a general flow chart or steps involved in synthesis of the nanoparticle from the biological material are shown here. So, first of all, any bioreductant like bacteria, fungi, or plants can be taken, which are then mixed with the metal ions, which can assume it is oxide metal ion something. So, by mixing it in the appropriate ratio, and thus this specific interaction is also this specific interaction between the plant material and the fungi or bacteria and the metal ion is take place, from which the nanoparticle are formed in solution whose purity and recovery is also estimated by the UV visible analysis by the spectrophotometer, and then the nanoparticle powder is formed. These nanoparticle powder is recovered, and then its physiochemical characterization can be carried out by using the scanning electron microscope, transmission electron microscope, X-ray diffraction method, etc. So all these methods are used for the physiochemical characterization of these nanoparticle powder form. So then, after if they meet the shape, size, and size distribution criteria, they can be used for the biofunctionalization. If they are uh, functionally active, then they can be used as the nanoparticle for clearing up the environment. If they does not meet the shape, size, and size distribution criteria, they can be undergo the modification process, as we have discussed. Nanotuber as nanotuber going then undergoing the modification process to work efficiently, it can also be used here. So they can be modified for to work efficiently, and then can be used to mitigate the pollutants. So this is the references which I have used. I hope I'm clear to all, and you found this topic very interesting, as I also find this topic very interesting. So I hope you enjoy this, and keep uh, stay tuned, and like, share, and subscribe my channel for more videos. And if you find my material good, then please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you. Have a nice day.